Afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome to the first of our opposition preview shows of the festive period. Following the 1-0 defeat to Middlesbrough, we actually travelled to Loftus Road to visit a QPR team sitting pretty in fifth, but 8 points behind us. But earlier on in the season gave us our very first scare, really, of the season. Before I welcome on my special guest to preview this game, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out more about what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, my special guest today has his own podcast called Open All Ours. It is a pleasure to welcome onto the show Paul Finney. Evening, Paul. How are you?
Not too bad, big man. Yourself?
Yeah, really good. And thank you for joining us on this opposition preview of our first festive game. But it's the first game for QPR in quite a while, because the previous two games, your last game was on the 5th of December, a 2-0 defeat by Stoke City. Yeah. But the last two have been called off through COVID.
Yeah, we like to be ahead of the curve. So yeah, it's been weird. I mean, yeah, it's called off by COVID, and it was at the last minute, so train tickets couldn't get refunded or anything. That was the least of your worries. But yeah, wasn't good. But what can you do? I guess it's the times we live in, isn't it? We've got who knows if our game will take place even. Do you know what I mean? We could end up with another game off. So hopefully, I have no idea what the news is at the camp, if everyone's recovered or not. But hopefully we can get a game or day after Boxing Day and crack on with it.
Do you think, though, considering you haven't played since the 5th of December, and we will have done, do you think it might have a positive effect for you, or do you think it'd be negative because of the players returning from the bouts of COVID?
You never know with QPR. You can never be always expect the unexpected. It's like if we're playing a team where the guy hasn't scored for 42 years and he's 110 and he's waiting for that final hat-trick to have the record, he will get it against us. Or someone hasn't won for 22 games or 22 years, they'll beat us. I mean, Christ's sake, we lost the frigging car plant in the FA Cup. So you never rule anything out. So I don't know. It's. I mean, we did have a lot of injuries, and it'd be good if we can get like the likes of Lee Wallace back and Albert Adoma. Great to get him back, and sort of a few. We were definitely picking up, like everyone. Listen, the championship is game after game after game after game, and you don't get much respite. So the rest probably would have helped us, yeah, for sure.
You do actually, just going back to the very start, you do actually run your own podcast as well, the QPR podcast. Do tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was sort of, it's kind of bizarre because the QPR fans that all live in North London. We met up in Finchley, decided to go for a podcast about 12 years ago, and it's been going ever since, called Open All Ours. And we've had a few interesting guests. We've had Barton on it, we've had the QPR managers on it, past and present. We've had the chairman on it, present chairman on it. No, not present owner on it, and things like that. And we could we're independent, and we try and ask questions that obviously the club can't ask, that we can ask. we didn't always get the answer we like, but we certainly try and get the answer, because the thing about podcasts is, and these sort of things, you should never forget that you're fans. Do you know what I mean? You've always got to remember that. You've always got to ask the questions that they might not come on a game for, but you still got to ask them.
And it's very true. That's the great and the beauty of this, is that we can ask the questions that the club might not be able to ask the players. We had Steve Cook on recently, which was a great interview. Yes, I was just about to come on to that.
Sorry.
How much do you want Steve?
I watched him the other week against Fulham, and I thought he was your best player by a country mile. Yeah. But then I'm old. I love that kind of throw yourself at the ball, but he can also play a wee bit as well, from what I've seen. So I think, at that position, he is very good, and he's what we need. Whether he will leave Bournemouth to come to QPR and root the family up and stuff like that, I don't know. But if he's not getting on with the manager, which is what the rumour is, then, which is strange because he's still getting played. So, you'd know more about this than I would. I don't know what the crack is. I'm reading it from obviously the press side. I mean, what is the situation? Because he seems to play, so obviously it can't be a problem with the manager.
So he's played 3 of the last 4. He was left out for the Middlesbrough game from the start. However, before that, he hadn't played all season, apart from a 6-0 defeat against Norwich in the Cup, which was by the by. He got an injury at the end of last season. It was in the first leg against Brentford. And I wonder whether initially maybe he might not have been training with the squad. He might have not had much of a pre-season. Can understand why he was left out at first. But as time went on, I thought, well, why is he not being involved at all? There was rumours as well that he was in training with the youngsters. Well, fair enough. He can pass on his knowledge to them. But we all knew he was too good a player to be doing that. So when he's actually come into the first team squad through injuries mainly, he's taken his opportunity. And I think me and a lot of Bournemouth fans were really, really disappointed when he was left out for the Middlesbrough game. And it's worrying all the rumours. Newcastle have been touted. I think it would be a sensible move for Eddie Howe, because Steve does know what it takes. He's not going to set the world on fire. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to turn around and be like, oh, Newcastle have bought, a world-class superstar here.
No.
But what they have bought is a dependable, solid defender who can play at that level. And Steve Cook is your traditional old-style defender. And I don't think we want to lose that. And that worries me.
I think the trouble is, certainly with us, and you're right to point that out, is that when you're in the Premier League, there's a thing about having Premiership players, even when you're in the Championship, if that makes sense. And it doesn't work. You need to get out of the Championship and then worry about the Premiership and what's going to happen after that. And I think there's too much played on the fact that they've got to do this, they've got to do that. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with being a good old solid centre half. That's just, we had Clint Hill, and he was supposed to be over the hill, and he was brilliant. So I just did that anyway. And he was brilliant. And he certainly sorted everything out of the defence. And he was much more than just a centre half for us. What he brought into the dressing room, what he brought into the club, the experience. There's something to be said sometimes for turning to an old hand who knows what they're doing, just to shore things up. And sometimes there's too much of this kind of, let's get a footballer because we're going to the Premiership and we need a Premiership-type player. You're in the league you're in, deal with that, and then worry about what happens after that.
I think, if Steve did go to QPR, I think what you would get is a solid defender, a player that does know the Championship and what it takes to get out of it. Would things have been different had he not got injured? I think they probably would, because I think he would have kept Metham out the side. Metham made the mistake, which then got him sent off, himself sent off. So
He's
I think things would have been different.
By the way.
Who, Chris Metham?
Yeah, massive QPR fan.
I did not know that. There you go.
Family,
There's a scoop.
family, family of season ticket holders, which is why he probably lost his temper against Fulham.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Massive Rangers family. They're all season ticket holders, and because he started off at QPR, and we released him for some ungodly reason. But yeah, he's a Rangers fan. So
He's a good player. He's a very, very good player, Chris Metham. But there is mistakes in him, and they always seem to happen at the worst possible time for Chris, which is a shame because there is a real talent there. There's a real talent there.
But sometimes it's a mental thing with players. They kind of get themselves stuck into a state of mind that they do things and they think, I must not do that again. And by worrying so much about doing it, they carry on doing it. I think he's a quality player. I think he's decent. But you know what? The Championship, I would love to see some from Real Madrid play the Championship and see how well they get on. Because it's such a hard league. It's hard to judge anyone. We had a Del Torrat in the Championship who tore it to shreds. One of the greatest players I've ever seen in my life, and he's now playing deep central midfield for Benfica, which is a complete waste of a player. So it's hard to tell with the Championship because it's. I mean, look at I'm wondering because I watched you the other night, and I'm just wondering, and I watched you at Middlesbrough as well, obviously because you played us then. But I'm just wondering what Cahill and that's thinking of it because sometimes he does look a little bit shocked at what's going on in front of him. Do you know what I mean? And it is a complete culture change to the Premiership and having time on the ball and to be able to do this. It's much more rush. It's much more physical. And this season I've noticed as well, teams do like to kick each other a lot more. Now, whether that's because they're fed up with the pandemic as well, they're taking out each other, but there's certainly a lot more aggression in the league than there's been for quite a few seasons.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Unfortunately, Jefferson Lerma has fell foul of the red card, but he should be back for the game against QPR. So that's quite an interesting one. Will Scott Parker bring him straight back into the side? I think if Billing's fit, he's got to go straight back into the side. Billing, but
he's always fit for getting a card back.
Oh yeah. He's Lerma will always get a yellow card. As Billing will do as well. Sometimes Billing seems to get himself on there quite a lot at the moment as well. So Lerma is the workhorse in the centre. Billing, we've missed him because Solanke's just looks so isolated up front, and he's the one that's been supplying him. So that's the thing that's been frustrating. Of late, and why the lack of form. What would you put down Bournemouth's lack of form to? Because we got, and I worked this out the other day, from 15 games, 37 points, which is a ridiculously high number. And then we've won 1 in 8 since. It just doesn't make any sense.
Playoff hangover, a desperation to get out of the Championship from the people who run the club and get back into the Premier League where they feel Bournemouth should be, which is bizarre because every club deserves to be where you are. I mean, I've read QPR fans say, we should be in the Premiership. No, you are where you are, and you have to deal with that. And, we certainly didn't enjoy the Premiership because we lost every game. So it's a tricky one. I think it's definitely a culture shock. I think when you think you're going to be there for one season, it's kind of like one season here will be grand. But then you've got FFP, you've got all these things that overhang you, you've got to get your squad right, you've got to get your wage bill right. And then you're faced with the thing of we have to now get out of this league at all costs. And that's a massive pressure for anyone because whereas before when Bournemouth went up, it was kind of like plucky little Bournemouth. No one's really paid that much attention to them. Look at them coming through the league, look at them doing this. And there wasn't that pressure. But now there's that kind of, ex-Premiership Bournemouth have to get back. Otherwise, you have to get rid of this player, you have to get rid of that player. Then you have to go into the FFP and the parachute money runs out. It all becomes a different scenario. And I think it definitely, we suffered from it. And it took us years to sort ourselves out from actually, let's scrap all this and just go back to being a football club again. Let's stop trying to buy these old hands from other teams that, not old hands, mercenaries is what we went wrong. And I think you haven't, because a lot of your players from the Premiership are quite young. But no doubt they're playing to get back into the Premiership. They don't want to stay in the Championship. And that's fair enough. So maybe there's a lot of things, pressure from above. a panic mindset. You've got Scott Parker in to get promotion, whereas he blew up at Fulham a little bit. So it's a lot of pressure on Bournemouth, which is something you'd never thought you'd ever say 20 years ago, that Bournemouth need to be in the Premiership. And I don't mean that rudely. I'm just being honest.
No, to be honest, I completely agree with you. Back in 2008, let's be honest, we were on minus 17 points. We weren't bottom because Luton were on minus 30. So that goes to show where we've come from. So
if only you were called Derby, you'd been fine.
I do feel for Derby, to be honest. This season, it must be frustrating, but they have gambled big style, haven't they?
I think I would feel sorry for them more if they. I mean, obviously it goes back to Zamora, which kind of started the downfall and all that, and they were very cocky on the day. Some of their fans, it was a horrible atmosphere afterwards. But yeah, I mean, and then they were one of the ones that actually wanted us to get done for FFP, which we did, and I think you've been done for it as well. So you get done for these things. But Derby was certainly one of the ones at the front of the queue shouting and screaming at us to get done and find points and everything else. And you think, oh, hi, karma comes around. But I take no joy in it because, listen, we're football fans and I don't want to see any fans suffer. I mean, maybe just Chelsea. Apart from Chelsea, anybody else. Because it's not right. And these people come into these clubs like Mel Morris or whatever, and they do what they have to do. They try and turn it into a bigger club than what they think they are, spending loads of money, and everyone gets carried away. And then when they start scoring per ship, they pull the plug and leave the club looking at oblivion. And that is not right. But then that's down again to who the FA, the Football League, and everyone, EFL, whatever, let these people come into clubs like Bury and whatever and destroy them. There's got to be a certain amount of kind of payback to the Football League for letting these people come into these clubs and doing what they're doing, because a club like Derby should not be struggling to exist. They're massive, and it's ridiculous. And yet the EFL just wash their hands of it and say, well, it's not our fault, Gov. We did all our checks. We asked his name, he told us his name, we let him in. So yeah, it never comes back. I mean, I don't like Luton at all, but what happened to them was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
And what happened to you guys? I mean, we've all had bad owners. I mean, we had Briatore and Eccleston and everything. So, oh yeah, that was great. But it wasn't really, because if we hadn't gone up that season, they'd have pulled the plug on us. It was all or nothing. And this is what these people do. They come in and they have a Premiership dream and they go for it, and they're quite happy to see you cut adrift if it doesn't work out. And then as soon as they got in the Premiership, they sold us at the last minute. And the new guy Fernandez didn't have much time to play around with things and made some absolutely disastrous decisions. So yeah, I do feel for Derby. It's not fair what's happened to him. In the same way that I feel for any Football League club, because owners come and go, fans will always stay, but it's always the fans that have to pick up the boat and try and sail it again.
Oh, most definitely. And I remember the days when there was bailiffs walking into Dean Court, taking away all the stock out the club shop, and it was only through Jeff Mostyn actually buying all the stock back, that we actually managed to carry on. Yeah.
I mean, I live in North London, and sometimes, I was funny enough, I was just talking to my nephew, and we're talking about when we played Arsenal, and, I live in North London and come back from Arsenal. These Arsenal fans are yapping away to me in the train, like, oh, why you support QPR, blah, blah, blah. And so what do you call glory? And it's like, well, it is what it is. Get 11 for us a couple of seasons ago, but not now. After a decade ago, we were going with buckets to keep the club going. We were 24 hours away from bankruptcy. So you can't turn around to someone who's used to winning trophies and say, actually, it's having a football club, it's having an identity, it's having somewhere to go on a Saturday afternoon and cheering your side on. It doesn't matter what league you're in, just to exist is something that only we know about, because they'll never have that.
Yeah.
So they see it as a trophy thing, and it's very strange, and that's why you wonder. I wonder how. I suppose a lot of Man City fans are happy, but there must be a few Man City fans who think, well, where were you when we were? I mean, obviously they had a big support back in the day, but the glory, you do wonder how it's changed them as a club, because it's certainly changed us. I mean, we're only getting back to what we should have been for decades now. We're bringing in youth players, we're bringing in the hungry players, we're bringing in players that want to play for us, and it's the agents and that have got it sewn up in the football world, and it's sad really sometimes, because you look at these young players and how they're released and they don't get a chance. I mean, I made me laugh the other day. I hate them with a passion, but then you know Chelsea are warned about not having any players. They've got about 24 players out on loan. So how can you sell a club like Morecambe and that you're struggling because you're down to your last 17 players when half your flipping squad's out on loan? it's farcical. And again, that's another thing that in London, these people come into clubs, and I mean, Chelsea have got London sewn up. They buy everyone and anyone, and bring them through, and then as soon as they're not going to make it, just get rid. So it's quite depressing. But yeah, I remember. Funny enough, I do remember because we played Bournemouth a few times. I've been to Dean Court back in the 90s and stuff, and the 80s, and it was always quite on the cusp of, well, we've seen our fixtures, but we're not sure we're going to actually get them. And you'll never forget them days, which is why when you get the glory days, you flipping it, don't have to appreciate it more. Whatever we ever define glory as.
Well, we had the Winter Gardens situation as well. We've been in financial turmoil throughout the years, and to be honest, it's only recently that things seem to be a lot more stable and long continue, because the alternative's an absolute nightmare. But hopefully, fingers crossed. I think the aim is, of course, to get back into the Premier League. It's got to be, but at the same time, this is a question that was put to me by a Blackburn fan recently, and he said, "Do you prefer the Championship or the Premier League?"
Ooh. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Personally, I'm Championship all day long, because our record in the Premiership was a disaster. It was like we lost 84% of games in one season, and it was just getting beat. And no matter what anyone says, it hurts your fan base. It hurts you as a fan. You go into games thinking, here we go again, and this guy come along and patronise the life out of you, and they don't tell a real story about your football club. And it's horrible. So at the moment, I'm preferring the Championship. It's just nice to be winning games again. Because as I say, it took us years to get to this, on the verge of the playoff spots, and I didn't know where to shout this year. And it's been a long time coming, and it's been a flipping nightmare in between times. We have had some absolute dubbins. And it's nice to know that we can put out a team that doesn't cost a lot of money, but they're going to try their best and do their best, and they'll leave nothing on the field. That's all you can ask for. Now, where that takes you, who knows? But it's certainly better than a bunch of mercenaries just getting their paychecks and laughing. We had a situation where we got relegated, and two of our players went off with the Reading players laughing. And that should never happen at any football club. It's at least if you're going to do it, have the decency to get down the tunnel first. And that's the sort of club we had. And Les Ferdinand and heard it, and he's fair play to him. He's turned it around, and him and Ramsey have found some absolute gems, and Eze and Cher and people like that now that we could actually be proud of again. And I'd rather have that any day. So in answer to your question, I don't know. At the moment, I'd just like to have my club winning games again. That's the nicest thing. If that takes us into the Premiership, I just hope we don't get twatted again every week, because that was really annoying.
To be honest, we had I would say 4.5 decent years there. Yeah. But I think where my heart fell out of love with the Premier League was when that Burnley game. So we 1-0 down. We got it back to 1-1, but because there was a situation with Adam Smith down the far end, and I can't even remember what happened. I've mentioned it so many times, I can't even remember it now.
Wait till you get to my age.
But they gave a penalty to Burnley, so we thought we'd equalised, and then we went 2-0 down. And I thought through VAR, and I thought it's just not right. It's not football. As much as everybody moans about a referee making a mistake or an error or, getting something wrong during the game, I think VAR just ruins the whole experience.
Whereas the Championship, you just got crap lines, people, crap refs week after week. It's hilarious. Some of the things I see in the Championship, I just laugh. But at the same time, as they said about bringing VAR in, I'd be like, do you know what? I don't know. I mean, we've got a hate relationship with Keith Stroud. He absolutely hates us, and he makes some really bizarre decisions. And but VAR, I've watched it, and it's so tricky, isn't it? Because it doesn't affect us, as you know now. But I vaguely remember that kind of thing with Burnley. It did seem really unfair. It always seems unfair because they were trying it out, so it wasn't perfect and it wasn't working that great. So you think, we'll bring it into the league and see what happens, and clubs get relegated. That was a great. How about doing it when it actually works?
Yeah. and Hawkeye as well. Of course, after Project Restart, the game between Aston Villa and Sheffield United, and of course that if that had gone, in our favour, we'd have still been there. But it's all by the by. It's the Premier League, and that's what.
But
it's just so disappointing.
But disappointing. But maybe at the same time, you could say, why don't just put people in charge of games who can actually know what they're doing, and you don't need VAR. Then you don't need all these things. And Germany seemed to make it work quite well. It worked quite well in the Euros, even though we weren't in it. So you just wonder if the Premiership still like to have the talking points. They like to have the discussions about how, because it happens to the smaller clubs rather than the big clubs. We used to have a joke about when we used to play Man United at Liverpool. We'd be like, at what time would you reckon? We used to take bets on when they get the penalty. I'd be like, hang on a second, will it be the 31st minute, the 5th minute, or the 15th minute? You'd be like, yeah, probably. Oh, you got your man. Now they'll probably get it in the first 15 minutes if they're struggling and they need the points. And you just know that certain things that happen to so-called smaller clubs, you're never going to get a decision. Monk for Sundays would make a mistake if it involved Man United getting relegated. But Bournemouth, they're quite happy with it.
Yeah, it was just so gutting, so gutting at the end of that season. But everything happens for a reason. We are second, although we are wobbling at the moment. And you're wobbling. 35 points. Yes, that's. Do you know what? Actually, I was just about to say that. It's a good job everybody else is wobbling because, but that gap has shrunk. That there was a 10-point gap between us and third at one point. Between us and West Brom.
It's like a wobbly league. It's like jelly. It should be sponsored by Jelly Company this year because I've never known a season like it. It's like the kiss of death. Even when we were going well. Blackburn came down and turned us over. Admittedly, a very good side and totally deserved it and taking nothing away from it. We got beaten by the better side. End of, really. But yeah, it seems to be as soon as you get near that pinnacle and you're doing well, you just blow it. I watched Fulham last night and, I kind of had a feeling Sheffield United would turn them over. But it's going to be close and you've got to keep your eye on Forest. I know everyone says it, but I don't know what he's doing down there. But flipping heck, they're flying.
They shot out from nowhere, haven't they?
Well, they've always had enough players. It was getting the coordination out of the players. The Championship, that's what the Championship is. It's coordination, spirit, and just the ability to try and keep as many players fit for as long as they can be fit for and churn the games out week after week and get results. And he's doing it. And so they're one to watch. Who knows? I mean, this league is so unpredictable. It really is. It's insane. You can lose to anyone on any given day. I mean, we played Derby, who was supposed to be struggling. They played us off the park at times. We won, but that was down to a last-minute goal by Gray, which was a world beater. But on the whole, they so you're never going to get an easy game in this league, and I think that's what, going back to what you said earlier on, is a bit of the shock. Is it nobody's going to let you turn up and say, "Oh, you've got Premiership heritage. We'll just lie down and take it." They're going to fight you all the way, and it's weird because I think Bournemouth have turned into a bit of a big fish now, as in clubs see that as ex-Premiership club Bournemouth. It's a scalp. Yeah. So they're going to raise the game by 15 or 20%, and which is what happened to us when we got relegated. And to be fair with that team, they only need to raise the game by 3%, and they still would have beat us. So it's a tricky one, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I thought it was going to be you guys, Fulham and West Bromwich sort of battling out. And I'll be honest with you, I can't call it now. It's going to be really interesting, and I think that despite what I say about us, I think. Or what not I say, other people say. I think we've got a decent squad that could give it a right go if we can put our chances away.
To be honest, QPR really do concern me because I watched that game back in September. Now back in September, we was in that great run. We were beating teams for fun. QPR come down and really gave it a good go.
Quite a nasty game, I remember it.
Yes.
It's quite physical.
Yep.
Some players were diving around. I'm not going to mention names, but we'll just leave it there. Playing the ref quite well, but Do you know what? It was a much better game than I thought it was going to be. I kind of thought we might get a wee bit of a tank in here. And it was everyone was going. This is going to be the tester for us to see how far we have come. And we stood up to it really well, and we coped with it really well. I thought, and then we got absolutely trunched at Fulham. But hey ho. We always get beat massively at Fulham. We should just give them the points and not bother turning up in future. But yeah, it was a good game, and it was a decent. And you can't have good games in Championship. It just makes me laugh when they say about the Premiership all the time. That, for entertainment value alone, you didn't have a clue how that game was going to pan out. It was so up and down. It's just a shame that we couldn't, But that's Rangers for you. We put a mark in games sometimes, and they go a bit pear-shaped.
I would say it was our first scare of the season, really. I know that we still won, but I think it was our first real scare of the season against QPR, and brought us back down to earth a little bit, because we thought, wow, you're going to win, walk this. At one point, it was looking really, really promising. I think Nottingham Forest we beat 2-1 up at the City grounds. But we were down to 10 men for a long period of time. And, we thought, well, we're going to, we've got such a good squad. We've got such good youngsters that have come out of nowhere. Now you're playing us off the back of this run, which, one win, in 8, which is...
I was surprised at that.
Yeah.
Really surprised. They said that the other day. I was like, bloody hell. And I hate that. I would rather you'd won your last 8 games and played us, because I hate it when teams haven't won for you. As I keep saying, your man hasn't scored, they haven't won, their away record is shocking, and you just think, that's it, I'm staying at home, I'm going to sit in the bath and not believe in the result because I know how this is going to pan out. Who knows? I think it'll be interesting because we both played really good football, but we've both got our hotheads, shall we say, as well.
Yes.
So, the midfield is going to be really... I think the midfield is where it's going to be won and lost, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I think, we can, on our day, we can be absolutely amazing in the midfield with Cho and stuff like that there. But our problem is wing backs. We've got a lot of injuries and we need some wing backs badly. So it'll be interesting, but I think it'll be, if we can all go and watch it, it'll be a great game. There's no two ways about it, because we'll be so pleased to be back at the football ground again.
And I think we will have the battlers in there. I think we'll probably have Pearson, we'll probably have Lerma, probably have Billing in there as well. And Billing probably is the softest of the 3 of them, so that goes to show.
Is it Pearson? I mean, he has got so much attitude. But, you kind of one of them players, you'd like him in your side. You're probably happy to boo the life out of him, but by God, you want that player in your side. Someone who's going to just... Who would tackle a budgie. Do you know what I mean? So you want that, and you want someone who's not afraid to put the foot in. But the other side of it is he gives away some ridiculous free kicks at times.
Yeah, no, that is very true. That is very, very true. But Mark Warburton, in charge of QPR, is doing a phenomenal job from where QPR have come from. He's got these players all together. Are you worried that he's going to be picked off by somebody in the top flight when the sackings do happen? And no doubt they probably will do at some point.
Do you know, that's really interesting, because last season I reckon he was one game away from the sack. And you just wonder in a manager's psyche how they feel about that. Because, if we hadn't won a game, he could have been gone. And... yeah, it was quite a strange. We had a terrible time last season, and he turned it around, finished really strongly. So you could see where he was going. It was he's got no plan B. He got this, but what he was doing was he was playing through, and regardless of results, getting the players used to a system where they could then go forward with. So when it came to it, they were well drilled, and yeah, he came very close. And in some ways, it's quite a different challenge to have somebody after your manager, rather than just taking a manager who's unemployed, who's been sacked, Mark Hughes, who will ruin a club, Mark Hughes, who will bring in rubbish players, Mark Hughes, who will take you down, Mark Hughes, Harry Redknapp, whatever. And it's nice to have, no doubt, if someone comes in and offers who's a higher level, they will go. I mean, he's come from Glasgow Rangers. He was at the bus stop for a while. He'd done great things there. And for those who don't know, that's Brentford.
Yeah.
Just have a bit of a laugh. They've now owned it and turned it around. Which is really annoying. You're not supposed to own the joke. It's wrong. But one thing he does have, which is really interesting, he does seem to have this faith in his players, no matter how well or how good they're playing at times. So his man management skills are excellent. But I just wonder how, if someone does come into me, he'll flick his mind back and say, "Yeah, one game away from the sack." You know, and you do wonder. But yeah, it's listen, like I've always said, it's like players. I'd rather people were after players than, you know. There was a time we didn't even want them, so it's nice that other people, you know. And if we can keep QPR, I mean, not QPR for years was a club that did well, that overachieved. That managers came and went, but we were able to replace it with someone else in the same ilk and keep a kind of a foundation going and have a mindset of what we want, where we want it to go, and how we want to keep going there with youth team players, and almost an uncanny knack of replacing players with exactly the same sort of players cheaply, and then when it runs out, it all went a bit pear-shaped. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be in people's radar, but he got burnt a wee bit at Glasgow Rangers, where I think it's a massive club with massive. This is a true story. I went to the Euros with Northern Ireland, as you know. And well, you don't do actually. We've only been there once. And I was talking to these Glasgow Rangers fans who happen to be Northern Ireland fans. There's a few of them. I'm not one of them, thank God. And I was up the way at Warburton. I said, "Oh, what do you expect?" "Oh, that we expect the league, the League Cup, and the Scottish Cup." I'm like, "All right, okay." Doesn't do that. Sack him. So he's had that kind of experience at a big club with them expectations. So that might bed him in. But I'd like to see him finish what his vision for QPR is. I'd like to see him finish that and see how far it can take us. But listen, everyone's got a shelf life, and clubs are always happy to sack a manager. So in some ways, we can't really whinge too much when they go and good and they go. We do it, you know. But at the same time, if you lose 14 games in a spin, you'd have them out tomorrow. So it's weird. So yeah, I think he might be in people's radar, but hopefully he'll stay with us and finish what he wants to stop what he started, which is now starting to pay fruit. Which would be annoying for us because we'd have to start all over again with someone else. But hey ho, it happens. So to answer your question, I'd like him to stay and I wouldn't like him to go. But in reality, money talks.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And of course, you had Charlie Austin return as well to the club. Somebody who I know a little bit about. Of course, saw him when he was down at Poole Town.
Oh, really?
He did a good job. Yeah, he was down at Poole Town. He was down at Poole Town for years.
Could you tell then that he was a natural?
Yeah, you could tell he was a little bit of a step above everybody else. And I believe he got picked up by Swindon. He got released by Reading, I think, wasn't it, at an early age?
Yeah, but then again, you know, who wants to play in that flipping... No, I'm not going to be ready. They nicked our kit, they nicked our nickname, and they sing our songs. But apart from that, they've got no identity crisis at all. Yeah, I think he was, but it's a strange one because he's a natural. And that's why I asked you the question. I was wondering what he would have been like at non-league level because he's just so driven and so his mindset is just clear as anything. So that doesn't surprise me that you said that.
Yeah, he was a step above everybody else really at Poole Town. You know, he knew where the goal was. Actually, I'm going to find out exactly how many goals he scored because I think it was a ridiculous amount. I
would imagine it'd be quite a lot. I mean,
it was
the season we got relegated, he scored 18. So, you know,
42 games. 2008 to 2009. So just the one season, 42 games, 48 goals scored.
That's not bad, is it?
No, not.
I mean, you'd take that, wouldn't you? You'd take a chance of something like that, wouldn't you? You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And then, of course,
that's incredible, isn't it? And especially in that league, because what people don't realise about that league is they will take your flipping legs at any given opportunity, and you will have to work your socks off to get anywhere near the goal. So that's quite impressive. I'm not surprised though.
Yeah, he's an outstanding player, and you know he's back at QPR. In the first spell, even when you look at the first spell, actually, 82 games, 45 goals. So pretty much a goal every other game.
And to be fair, he played with some absolute donkeys as well. So fair play to him for doing that. I mean, as I said, in the 18 goals in that season, you know, that's quite impressive. And, you know, he seems to love the club. And it's quite weird because his wife's quite an interesting character. She's like, she's very prominent on social media. And she's kind of bonded with QPR fans really well. And it's weird because when he came back from West Brom, people were a little bit kind of, oh, what's going to happen? What's he like? And he burst onto it again, just like he did as a 19-year-old, and really hungry for it. And he just seems to love the club. And it's weird, isn't it? I'm sure there's players out of Bournemouth, like with Fletcher and stuff that you've had in the past, that only seem to work at a certain club. If they go somewhere else, it doesn't happen for them. But at your club, they're like amazing. And I think Austin certainly falls into that category. I mean, he did well at Burnley, but he just seems to love QPR, and we love him. So long may that continue, and long may he keep scoring goals, because that's what we need to be doing at the moment. We need to be taking our chances. We need to finish teams off. We're not great at doing that, and we need to be doing that and getting some more points to the table. And at least I always look at it like a relegation battle up until May, and I don't trust anything until the last game of the season that we can't get relegated, because I'm an absolute. I've had too many. QPR, it's like Bournemouth, I suppose, in some ways. They've always taken you up the top of the hill and then they kick you down the other side rather quickly, and you just kind of get used to the highs and the lows. And it's just nice to have a team that's playing well, that's doing everything right, that represents a club well, that works well with the community and has a rapport with the fans. That's all you can ask for. And whatever comes from that is brilliant.
Last season was a real struggle to watch because we saw us, again, we were right at the very top of our game. And it was just after Christmas, it just started to collapse. It just started to completely collapse under Jason Tindall. And it was such a shame because Jason Tindall, absolutely legend at the club, lovely guy, played so many games for this football club, second in charge to Eddie Howe. And should he have had a little bit longer? I was all for it, to be honest. I was all for it. But I think what did Jason Tindall in was that he made, against Sheffield Wednesday and Reading, he made 3 substitutions all in one go, and it just didn't seem any structure to it. It just seemed a complete loss. It just seemed a throw of the dice. And it's sad when somebody like that, who's been so loyal to your football club, then falls. But, Charlie Austin just keeps going. He's, outstanding. And to be fair, throughout his career, if you look at it, the team where he's got the least goals per games is Southampton. So he must not have liked them very much. We don't either. So,
I mean, to be fair, he did score his debut against Man United. I remember that.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
I think they won that one, and I remember thinking, "Oh yeah, here we go." But then when Mark Hughes went to Southampton, I thought, "Here we go, that's them ruined." And true behold, that was them ruined. So lovely Mark Hughes. As you can tell, I'm not a fan. Give me Tinsdale any day over flipping Mark Hughes, that's for sure. Now, I guess it's sad, though, isn't it, when people come back to club? I mean, remember that with Holloway and stuff, and Jerry Francis the second time. You kind of think, oh God, I don't really want to not like you because you're a flipping legend. And as a child, I thought you were God, and here I am looking at you now, thinking, please leave. Well, with Jerry's second time, definitely, because we lost 5-0 to Preston, and I think we lost 5-0 to Wimbledon the week after, and it was QPR fans fighting each other, and it was horrible. And they don't come much bigger than club legends at Jerry Francis. I mean, I'm not an England fan, but he's the only QPR player ever to captain England while still at QPR, which is just massive for us. But, and it's sad sometimes, and you can kind of see why the club's trying to go left field sometimes and bring someone else who's got no connection, because it's a horrible place to be that you always want your legends to do well, and, sometimes it just doesn't work out, and you just got to start from scratch again. But yeah, I agree. I think he was handed somewhat low with you guys, a poison chalice in some ways. The damage is already done. And he was kind of running backwards rather than trying to go forwards. And that's kind of, to rebuild that squad, to rebuild that confidence, it's going to be tricky. Because Eddie Howe was just, I don't know what he was doing down there, but flipping heck. I mean, if you could bottle it up and sold it, every club in the land would be banning off you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, it was Eddie Howe will forever be a legend at this football club. Actually, quick question, for you, Paul, and this is focusing on the Premier League. How do you think he's going to do at Newcastle? Do you think he's going to keep him up?
I would say he could lose his head, but that's not very topical, and you never know. It's difficult, isn't it? He's a great manager. He'll do well, but I'm kind of thinking of all that money, all that expectation, people who don't know anything about football, who expect things to happen rapidly, who don't understand it, who've got agents in their ear say whispering this name and that name. Yeah, I don't think he's got a chance in hell, to be honest with you. You know, purely because of the money. You know, they've got all this money coming in, and they're going to be. I don't think they're the sort of people who don't do failure. So he might do well, but they're in a really bad situation, and I don't fancy their chance of staying up. That'll probably bite me in the arse. They'll probably finish ninth now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got relegated. But you know, it's a shame because that's the wrong type of club for him. You know, he needs to be the club where he's going to be appreciated, and they're not going to throw money at it and expect things to happen quickly, because he's never had that before. So how can you expect anything other than just a manager that's grafted away and done the best at what he's got? But that squad already know they're going to be replaced in January ASAP, and they're not really wanted. So how do you motivate them?
I think there's two types of manager as well, isn't there? Really, those managers that can just buy players at the top level. You talk about your Pep Guardiolas, your Jose Mourinho's, and then you've got the managers that like to build, like Eddie Howe, Mark Warburton. You could probably put Scott Parker in there as well.
Sean Dyche.
But Sean Dyche, yeah, loves to build a squad. Hasn't got tons and tons of money, and I think Eddie Howe's a builder, but they're expecting instant results. And
Totally.
I think Steve Cook, would be a great signing for Newcastle. Touch wood, he won't leave. Touch wood, he won't go anywhere. And just stay at Bournemouth. But if he did go to Newcastle, I think he would be a very, very clever signing. However, the problem is with the owners and the fans, the expectation is we want somebody, big. We don't want a Steve Cook. We want a massive name. And
yeah. But then, of course, you look at someone like Eddie Howe and you think, what did he do? Personally, the best thing Newcastle could say to him and the players, if the board of directors had any sense, is we're going to stick with you guys. We're going to work with you. Let's get out of this, and then we'll regroup, rethink, restructure at the end of this current season. Everyone knows trying to build a squad and a team in January is insanity. And if they're not careful, they could really do it the wrong way. Whereas if they go to the lads and say, like, listen, whatever happens, you're our players, here's your manager, work together, get out of this mess, and then we'll see where we are next season. They'll get a massive response to that, but everyone's in limbo. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know where they're going to be, and they know that they're sitting there in a money chest, and they're not football people. You look at the structure of the board, and there's a big difference between a football fan and a football business person, but they don't seem to have any. And I could be completely playing them bad service here, but I'm looking at them and thinking, none of you seem to understand this. I mean, the fans, I don't think are a problem because they're quite supportive and they will back the club as long as the club's honest with them. But then I remember when we got money and we played Chelsea away and people would start waving money at Chelsea fans. And I thought, that's not good. That's the wrong way to play this. You've got to try and keep your identity. You've got to try and keep your structure. You've got to try and keep your club going and not let the money blind you into thinking you're something that you never will be, never should be, and never can be. And, at the same time, but then who would have thought that Man City would have been where they are 20 years ago, whatever. So it depends. But, I think they need to, certainly at Newcastle, they need to wise up pretty quite quickly and back the manager, give him a chance, because he is a builder. And success isn't achieved overnight, although some people think it is. It still takes a long time. And to sell a club to even players overseas when you're bottom of the Premiership, unless you throw loads of money at them, they're the wrong sort of players anyway.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, Callum Wilson, I think, is a great striker. I think on his day, as you know, he's lethal.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that. He should be doing far better than what he is. The only thing I can think of is that he knows he's going to get replaced.
Or it doesn't seem to be that he's getting service, as much service as he has been previously. And the funny thing was when he was down here, Ryan Fraser, of course, is up at Newcastle as well. And that was a very strange situation because Ryan Fraser decided that after the first lockdown, when Project Restart happened, that he didn't really want to play. So I think through his agent, and I don't know how much of this is agent talk. I had a guy called Andy Bernal on, who was David Beckham's agent, and he said that was probably controlled by his agent, because his agent could see the money of, right, okay, Arsenal are after you. Don't get yourself injured. Don't play for Bournemouth. Of course, in the end, it ended up that he was at Newcastle. But it's an interesting one because, of course, I think Eddie felt really let down by Ryan Fraser, but Callum Wilson and Fraser had a fantastic partnership, which was so fruitful and scored loads of goals. Doesn't seem to be happening at the moment, so I wonder if there's more to it.
Listen, could it be egos? Could it be eaters in your ear? Could it be anything? Who knows? I mean, look at, as I mentioned earlier on, Adel Taarabt leaves QPR and becomes nothing. Or he's at Benfica and stuff, but not the player. They play deep, holding midfielder. What a flipping waste! It's like, it's like having an Aston Martin and drive it like a Skoda. There was nothing wrong with Skodas. At this present time, my car doesn't work. I'll have a Skoda. But you just think, and the trouble around is, I always felt he was a different player for Scotland. When he's playing for Scotland, he just looks a class above, and there's something definitely not working out from at Newcastle. He's shown little spits and spats of what he can do, but yeah, it's weird because when they were together, they tore the championship to bits, didn't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They caused us a flipping headache.
Oh, they were fantastic, and I think if they could get back on song, then Eddie could have a perfect partnership there, but I just don't know what's happening and what's going wrong for them. But hopefully he can pull them out of it. With regards
I'd like to see. Do you know what? There's a bit of me would like to see him relegate it. Not because I've got anything against Newcastle, just like us, we tried to buy the league, we got relegated. Why can't it happen to somebody else? Why should we be the only one to have the blueprint of disaster? Just to take it away from us and being the club that spent an absolute fortune and lived to regret it twice. So yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, they're struggling, and it's going to be a long way back for them. I mean, I look at the league and don't know that much about the Premiership, but it's not looking good for them.
Do you think you'll have to learn the Premiership next season, though? Do you think you can get in there, or do you think you're going to fall just short?
I don't know. I think it's just nice to have a chance, and while that continues, why not go for it? It's a shame you can't win and give your place to somebody else, and they can have the half and half scarves and all that malarkey that goes with the flipping Premiership, for God's sake. But yeah, no, I think we can do it. We've got the players. I mean, we've got young Dimmy, who's a great centre half, young lad, come in from Burnley. He certainly knows what he's doing. You've got Ilias Chur, you got Abbott Dunmer, who's playing like a flipping 19-year-old, and he's 36. You've got Lee Wallace again, who's quite old, playing well. Charlie Austin, Dykes, Gray surprises with that goal because he hasn't really been showing that form, but he's got it in his. Obviously, he's got that kind of thing in him, so let's hope we can do more of it. And I just think it's nice to watch an exciting QPR side who are going for it a bit more, who are believing in themselves a bit more, who can damage teams, because before it was a case of like, we just didn't do anything. Our home record was shocking, our away record was appalling, and we didn't seem to be building much, and all of a sudden it clicked, it works, and it's just nice. And if the result of that is that we get in the playoffs, and even if we don't get in the Premier League and we have a decent cup run, we kind of feel we're achieving something at last, rather than just this endless spiral of losing games and being at the wrong end of the table. So yeah, I mean, but like I say, I've seen every team in the Championship this season. Nobody scares me. And as a QPR fan, that's unusual because normally everyone scares you, including the linesmen and the referees. So yeah, I think we can do it. I'm not saying we will, because nothing's for certain in this league, because I thought you and Fulham would run away with it. You're not. So there's certainly a place up for grabs. If we get ourselves into gear, we can certainly take it.
Final question, and this is providing the game does go ahead.
Oh, COVID, our little friend.
Yes. Hopefully, fingers crossed, no more COVID.
To be fair, it's no coincidence that it starts with C like Chelsea. That's all I'm saying. Carry on.
Yeah. Just thinking about it, I'm doing 3 of the opposition preview shows. So I've got yourself, I've got the Cardiff, and I've got the Peterborough opposition preview shows in a row. And I'm just wondering, I'm going to put them out all before Christmas. I'm wondering if, there's going to be no point to any of them because, of course, COVID rules every single game out. Touch wood,
The way
that's
you're
not
going, there might not be any points anyway. Ba-boom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to haunt me, isn't it? That's going to really haunt me. Right? Carry on.
How do you reckon it's going to go, Paul? With your heart or your head, you can choose.
I can never tell the difference. I mean, I kind of with Rangers as well. You can never ever always expect the unexpected either way. QPR, I hit that. I'm asking myself a question. I always hit that when politicians do that. They ask themselves a question, answer it. No. QPR could easily beat Bournemouth and lose to Peterborough, and that's the kind of team we are. Who knows? I think it'd be a good game. I think it'd be midfield wise, it's going to be interesting, and there could be a red card. But I think we can win, and I think we can win most games because thank God I've got belief in my side again, and it's much nice to do a podcast as the opposition player, even though it's our players, where I can turn around and say, "We'll give you a damn good game," and that's all I want. I want you to go there. I want you to lose, but if you don't lose, I want you to know you've been in the game of your life.
I think it depends if Billing plays.
Oh, really? Okay.
Depends if Billing plays. If Billing doesn't play, I think we'll get beat 1-0. If Billing does play, I think a point would be great from Loftus Road.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that these days.
It's not a bad result. However, we need to get back to winning ways, be it against QPR, be it against Cardiff, or be it against Peterborough. But personally, I think the Peterborough game's too late on the 3rd of January. We need to pick up 3 points beforehand.
Yeah, I think it's tricky, isn't it? But it's a championship, though. You don't know. You could very well beat us in Cardiff and then lose to Peterborough. That's the kind of league this is, and we could quite easily smash you and go on a run and then play Peterborough at home and lose them. You don't know. Well, we'll probably lose to them in the FA Cup. I reckon that's what we'll lose to, but hey, because we're terrible in the FA Cup. I think we've got the worst record now. It's just terrible. I hate it. I hate cup matches because we always lose them, and I love the FA Cup. I love all that glory. I'm old, and I remember the times when it was a TV event, and now it's just kind of like they play Premiership games on the same day. Ridiculous. Again, an old whinge. I don't know. I think there'd be more than one goal. I think you're being a wee bit pessimistic there. I think it could be quite an open game. I reckon it could be 2-1, 3-2, whatever. I think there's definitely going to be goals in this game.
I think we'll probably get beat if Billing doesn't play. I think we need to make sure and mix it up and get the ball to Solanke. Yes, we can score goals from all areas of the pitch, but if Solanke's not in the game, which he hasn't really been for the last 2, that worries me. That really does worry me. And I think after the Fulham game, to be honest, Paul, I thought, there was loads of promise. I was quite excited after the Fulham game. I thought, if we play like that, yes, we've drawn away at Fulham. But if we play like that against any other team, we should be able to get a positive result. If not, most times, 3 points.
We were the better side, without a doubt, in the break, for sure.
Yeah. But since then, we've played Blackburn, which was... And take nothing away from Blackburn. Blackburn are a good side. Take nothing away from Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough are a good side. But to be honest, we were rolled over and we were just too soft.
Then again, I watched you against Middlesbrough. I thought Paddy Mcnair, who I've watched for Northern Ireland, had the game of his life. If it's ever an underrated player in a championship, it's Paddy Mcnair. I'm not just saying that. I think he's an absolute talent. And you could see they were desperate for a home win. They're kind of, and it was nice, patronising, I don't mean to be, but the banner their fans had up about the kickoff was amazing, and it was nice to see that kind of solidarity because we've only had about 3 Saturday games all season at home. For some reason, Sky, well, it's because we're close to Isleworth where they're based or whatever, I don't know, seem to have us on every flipping week. So I think in January we've got a month off because players have it with your fixtures in your life because I work for me my wife and I work in my own company. So if I'm not going to football after work and I don't like it, I'd rather be at football. So it plays havoc with you. Monday nights here, Tuesday night there, and Friday night here. It's absolutely insane. So to have a 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday morning at Middlesbrough, flipping heck. Or was it Saturday or Sunday?
It was Saturday,
Yeah,
12:30 Saturday. The coaches were leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning. So the first stop was Weymouth, which is, if you know the area well, is quite a jaunt into Poole and then through Poole to Bournemouth. It's a one hell of a journey. I feel for the coach drivers as well, for making that trip up there.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of making you make a decision. It's like we did with Sheffield United. We had Sheffield United, so we had to pay for accommodation, you had to pay for train, and then it's called off. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But you don't get that money back. But it's just these fixtures because you want to see it table, especially when you're kind of at this end of the table. I mean, I go anyway because I haven't got a life, but there's something nice about going away, knowing and hoping that you can actually give the other team a game. But I think 12 to leave at 1 o'clock in the morning is just wrong. You can't defend that. I mean, we had the QPR chairman on, and he was explaining to us a financial package that Sky put together. I get it. I just think it's wrong. It's just like, maybe we should do a thing where clubs just get X amount of money off Sky anyway, and we just hold them to sensible kickoff times, or don't allow ourselves to be bullied around by them so much. Because I mean, I think there was a time as well when Sunderland were playing, and it was the other end of the country, and it was 12:30. It's just ridiculous, Sky have got this thing of it's always about the fans. It's never about the bloody fans. They've never once done anything for the fans. When it suits them and they need us to watch the TV programme, it's all about the fans. After that, they screw us over as well. Especially in the Championship, we get absolutely screwed. Sorry, rant number 3, over.
Yeah, to be honest, it was absolutely ridiculous, to be honest, Paul. So, I've got to completely agree, and I'm sure everybody will agree with you as well down here. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show tonight. It's been really insightful. Thank you so much for joining me. And also, just before you go, can you give a quick plug to your podcast and tell people how to find it?
We're on all kinds of social media called Open All R's, which is really tricky to say in my stupid accent, but it's R's as in a letter R and an S. So, and you can find us there, and we're quite a friendly bunch. We're not spoiled by success. We're just realists, and we try and keep it to a level of optimism and sanity. And we often feel, and we get overexcited and think we're going to win the league, and then get relegated in equal measures.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And all the very, very best. Have a lovely Christmas.
And I'd say I hope we could talk next season, but you probably don't want that. So hey-ho.
Yeah, well, you never know. You might come with us. So that's, this could be a Premier League.
As long as we replace Brentford, it'd be nice to replace Brentford. That'd be nice. Hey-ho.
We'll both end up getting smashed every single week, and we'll come and play each other, and they'll be like, here we go, a game where we can't call it.
Next stop, Burton Albion away.
Yeah. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, Paul, and thank you so much for joining me.
Good luck against us.
Yeah, likewise, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, big man. Thank you.
And thank you for joining me on this opposition preview show. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe and the bell button below to be alerted to all our coverage here on Up the Cherries in all departments. We'll also have our special opposition preview show with Cardiff fan Alex Winters previewing tomorrow night. So that will be tomorrow night at 5:30. So please do check that out. Please also check out the interviews that we've done, the previous games opposition preview shows. I know that they've already gone, but we've got some great content on there with her game too. Also, we had Mark Sefton as well, talking about his books and his business related examples as well, and his mentoring. So that is really, really interesting. And there's tons more to check out on this channel as well. So please do remember to hit that subscribe and that bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do. But until the next video, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.